All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something that really challenges one of the biggest, most fundamental ideas in modern finance. We're going to explore a world built not on interest and debt, but entirely on the idea of risk sharing.
So let's just get right to it. The big question, can a complex modern economy actually function and, be stable without interest rates? I mean, if you ask most economists, they'd probably say no way. But this model, well, it suggests a very different answer.
So how in the world does it work? Well, it all comes down to this one really powerful idea, the risk-sharing foundation. It's kind of like we're playing a new game with a different set of rules. So let's break them down. Okay, rule number one, and this is the big one, is super simple. Fixed, predetermined interest rates on debt, they're just not allowed. They don't exist. That means no government bonds with a set coupon, no savings accounts with that guaranteed 2% return. Everything works differently.
Okay, so if you can't have interest-bearing debt, what do you have? There's only one kind of financial asset, something called a contingent claim. The easiest way to think about this is like an equity share in a company. Your return isn't guaranteed, it's contingent. It totally depends on how well the real business you invested in actually performs.
And this quote right here, it really just nails the whole philosophy. In this system, every single financial arrangement is a true partnership. If you put up the capital, you get to share in the profits if things go well. But, and this is key, you also have to share in the losses if they don't. You're in it together, for the good and the bad.
And what this does is create this incredibly direct link that can sometimes get a little blurry in our conventional system. Here, the return you get on your money isn't just set by a central bank or by financial markets guessing what's going to happen next. Nope, it is tied directly to the real economy. The success of actual factories, new technologies, and services. The financial world basically becomes a mirror of the real one.
Okay, so that's the foundation. It sounds interesting in theory, but does it actually work in practice? Let's put it to the test. First, we're going to look at a simple, closed economy. No international trade yet, to see how it handles the most basic function, getting money from savers to investors. No matter what system you're using, the fundamental goal for a stable economy is always the same. All the money that households are planning to save has to find its way to firms that are planning to invest it. That core equilibrium, savings equals investment, still has to be met.
So how on earth do you balance savings and investment without an interest rate to do the job? Well, here's the magic trick. In a conventional model, the interest rate goes up or down to create that balance. In this model, that job is done by the market's rate of return on equity. It's a key substitution. Think about it like this. On one side, you have households looking at the potential returns from businesses and deciding how much they want to save. On the other side, you have firms looking at how productive their next investment could be. The market rate of return on equity then acts like a seesaw, moving up and down until the amount people want to save perfectly matches the amount firms want to invest. It's a self-regulating system. So, what's the end result of all this? The analysis shows that, this system can absolutely find its balance. A stable, long-run equilibrium isn't just possible. The model shows it's a totally natural outcome of this risk-sharing setup, even without a central interest rate telling everyone what to do. All right, so the model holds up in a little sandbox economy, but that's one thing. We live in a massive, interconnected world. What happens when we throw open the doors to international trade and investment? Does the whole thing still work? Suddenly, we've got a few new, crucial things to juggle. Of course, we have goods being traded back and forth, but now we also have assets, in this case, domestic and foreign equity shares, being traded. And, tying it all together, you've got the constantly moving foreign exchange rates. So, to see how the system handles all this, let's just simplify things for a second. Imagine your own personal wealth portfolio. You're basically balancing it between two main things: holding liquid cash, which has zero return, and holding equity, which offers a variable return based on how the economy is actually doing. Okay, now let's shake things up. Imagine some kind of shock hits the economy. Let's say the exchange rate suddenly changes. A devaluation of your currency means that all that cash you're holding is suddenly worth less in real terms. Your whole portfolio is now out of balance. So what do? You don't just sit there, you rebalance. That shock creates a huge incentive to move your assets around. People start buying or selling equity to get their portfolio back to where they want it. And all that buying and selling changes the price of equity, which adjusts the rate of return. And that adjustment is exactly what brings the entire system back to a stable point. The asset market itself is the cure. And
This is basically how the whole international system finds its balance. The flow of goods across borders, the trade balance, that's still determined by relative prices. But the flow of capital, that's different. Instead of chasing higher interest rates around the globe, investment capital flows to countries where the real return on equity is highest. Money goes where the action is, where the real growth is happening. So we've looked at it from the inside out, we've opened it up to the world. What's the final verdict? Well, the analysis suggests there's a different but totally viable path to economic stability.
I think this quote from the study just perfectly captures the main point. The conclusion is that getting rid of interest-bearing assets doesn't break the economy, it doesn't stop us from being able to analyze it, and it doesn't stop the system itself from working and finding its balance. So what this all means is that, at least in theory, a stable economic equilibrium, both inside a country and across the globe, is absolutely achievable. An economy can match up savings and investment, it can handle international shocks, and it can find its balance, all through a market that's built on risk sharing and the real return on capital.
And that, of course, leaves us with a pretty big, fascinating question to chew on. If a concept as central to our economy as the interest rate can theoretically be replaced, what other economic rules that we just take for granted might not be as permanent as we think?